Hey guys, and welcome to another tutorial of the Centaurus Minimap. In this video we will explain how to use the newly added feature, which is the height system. So if we play, you're going to notice here, so for example we have a treasure box here, so I'm going to enable the mouse, and in the minimap you can see we have a little arrow here which indicates that the box is above us. So this is the new feature which you can enable or disable if you want. For specific things on the minimap. So since the box is above us, so we have a little arrow here which tells us that it's above. So if we try to reach that box, so let's just take the stairs here, and we'll try to go to the treasure box location. And as you can see here, we no longer have an arrow or indicator because we are pretty much at the same height as the box. But if we try to go upstairs here, you're going to notice that now we have an arrow which points down, indicating that the box is below us. Of course, the same thing for the quest giver character right there. This guy right here, you can see that he has pretty much the same thing. And you can change the color of this arrow or indicator if you want. Now, of course, again, if we go, since we are at the same level as the box, we again don't see the arrow. And same thing for this quest, and of course again for the treasure box we now see the up arrow which tells us that the box is upstairs. If you watch the first tutorial where we added the AI character, we added some point of interest, etc., we're gonna do pretty much the same thing here, but with the new option. It's just a checkbox. Of course you can enable that option for anything. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're going to add a treasure box somewhere on the map, and we're going to enable that option so that we can know if it's below or above, etc. If you are new to the channel, you can check out the description. There's a link for the minimap and how to get it, of course, and there are other video tutorials on how to set up the minimap with your project. So we're going to exit here, and we're going to go to the Centaurus minimap. This is the default folder. If you added the minimap to your project, you're going to have this folder right here, and inside it we have examples. And so we're going to go to examples and L tutorial, and we're going to open the tutorial character here. So we're going to double click it here. So we're going to open up that one, and of course we want to create a treasure box which we can add to our minimap. So we're going to create a simple actor. So I'm going to go to content here. I'm just going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it actors. And inside it, I'm going to create a new, I'm going to make a simple blueprint actor. So right click here, blueprint class, and it's going to be just an actor. So we're going to name it treasure box. This is our treasure box blueprint. So I'm going to double click here, and we're going to add something like a mesh or something like that. So something simple. We're not trying to do something complex here. Is just for the example. So we can add, for example, a cube, and let's go ahead and let's go ahead and change the size a little bit, like the scale, and something like this. And of course for the material, I'm gonna pick up the shiny material here. It's just a simple material, and that is our this is our treasure box. So this is a simple example of a box or something like that. So let's go ahead and compile. This blueprint will not have any functionality. It's just something we can place in our Word. For example, let's put one here, for example. So we're gonna put one right here. Let's just go ahead and rotate that a little bit. It really doesn't matter. So that is our first treasure box. Just put it here. Let's put one here, for example, and maybe one here, and maybe one here close to us, and one for example here. So now that we added a couple of treasure boxes, we can now add them to the minimap. So our treasure box is a blueprint, and the name of this blueprint is treasure box. Now we're going back to the tutorial character. So in the event begin play, we have a bunch of nodes here. For example, we create the minimap widget, and then we add it to the viewport, And then of course we handle the on-click event. This is something we've done on the previous tutorial, but for now I'm going to disconnect the event begin play, and we're going to start over. We're not going to add the AI character and other things. We're just going to add the treasure boxes, and of course we're going to create the minimap widget. This is just a reminder of how to set up our minimap. So if we go to the widget here, if we go to examples into the L tutorial, we have widget. This is a simple user interface or widget, and inside it we have the minimap component. And of course we selected an ND minimap component. We have our map texture, which is just a texture or an image of our map. And of course if we go here, so this is our map pretty much. It's just an image that you can make on Photoshop or capture using a scene capture 2D. So this is a simple image. And of course for the other things we have values like zoom and zoom steps, and if the map rotates or not, if it's like a circular or rectangular, and of course a bunch of settings. In the description below you can find a link to a tutorial where I explain everything in details and how to add your location texture, color, etc., and border and whatnot. For now we only care about this in-game minimap, and we want to go to the event begin play. We want to create that widget and add it to the viewport. So if we right click here, we can type create widget, and we can select, and then we can select the in-game minimap. So in-game minimap, and that is our widget, of course. And of course we can right click promote to a variable, but we already have that variable here. We can simply just set that widget to that variable. And of course again you can do that, or as I said, you can right click here, promote to a variable, and it's going to create this a variable which you can name minimap or something like that. So this is our minimap here. So this minimap right here is simply the in-game minimap, which contains the minimap component. And again, the minimap component comes with the Centaurus minimap, which you can add to your project from the Epic launcher. What we want to do here, we want to drag from this minimap, which is this one. We want to get the minimap component, this one. So if we drag here and type get minimap component, so we can get the minimap component. So now we can use this minimap component to call functions such as add something to the minimap, change its color, remove the border, disable rotation, etc. So if you drag from here, you have a lot of options. For example, if you simply type change, you have a lot of things here. For example, change the minimap texture, change the border, change the location color, etc. So we have a lot of function here that you can call. But for now, we want to add something to the minimap. We want to get all these treasure boxes that we have in our world. So the easiest way to do that is simply right click, get all actors of class. And then of course you indicate what class you're looking for, and of course it's simply our blueprint treasure box. So this is our treasure box right there, and we want to link it here. So now that we have all the treasure boxes, we want to add them to the minimap. So we can use this minimap component and call a function called add persistent actors. So of course here it depends. If you want to keep track of these boxes even if they're off the minimap, then you're going to have to add them as persistent actors. But if they're off the minimap and you don't want to display them in the minimap, if you're too far away from them, you can simply add actors. So we have two methods of adding something to the minimap. Either they are persistent or not. So if we drag here, we can call. So first we're going to start by adding them as persistent actors, and then later we'll switch to the other function instead. So let's go ahead and do add persistent actors, and we're going to link this here, and then of course the array of the actors is this one. And do we want to follow their rotation? They're just boxes, they're static, we don't care about their rotation, so we'll leave that empty. And for the texture, I have a texture here, so I'm going to examples, L tutorial, and then to images. So this is the treasure box that we're going to use for our treasure box. So it's a simple texture, so it's called treasure. So go back to the tutorial character, and we're going to select it here. So treasure is our texture. There it is. And for the size, we can leave it at 50 by 50 or something smaller. For now, we're just going to keep it 50 by 50. And for the color, you can drag and type make. And then you can select a color. But so I don't want to change the color of the image. So I'm going to select white. And there you go. For the out of minimap texture, this is something I explained in the previous tutorial, but out of minimap texture is basically when it's off the minimap. If you're too far away, what you want to change that texture to. Do you want to keep it the same? Do you want to change it to an arrow and a pointer or something like that? For now, we're going to keep the same texture, and so we'll leave it empty. For keep out of minimap texture straight, we're going to enable this option because we don't change the texture to a pointer or something like that when it's off minimap. So we're just going to keep the same texture, and we don't want to mess with its rotation. And so we're going to enable this option. You can disable it and see the effect, but for now we're just going to enable it. And finally, show height indicator. This is the option we were talking about earlier. So like I said, this is something that helps you tell if something is below or above you. So we're going to enable that option. Now that we added the treasure boxes, we can start updating our minimap. Of course, it's something you can do at the beginning here before adding stuff or after adding stuff. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it here. So all you need to do is just drag from the minimap component and just call minimap start update. And of course, this function right here needs an owner. This is very important. So who is the owner of this minimap? It's just our pawn, the tutorial character. It's just the player pretty much. So if you drag from owner pawn, you can simply call this or like write this or self. So self or this is just a reference to our self or our character. And this is the owner of this minimap. So now we're going to link it here. So again, we created the widget and we need to add it to the viewport first. So let's go ahead and do that here. We can do it after, I think, or we can just do it here. So let's just drag from the minimap and do add to viewport. And there you go. So add to the viewport. Let's just add the widget to the viewport first. So the first thing we did here is create the endgame minimap, which is this widget right here. And we added it to the viewport so we can see it on our screen. Second thing, now that we have the minimap created, we can have access to the minimap component, which is this one right here. And now that we have access to the minimap component, we can add stuff to it. We can do whatever we want with it. So the first thing we did here is get the treasure boxes. We want to get all the treasure boxes that we have on our map. And this will return an array of all the treasure boxes in our map. And now that we have that array, we can add it to the minimap. And the way you do that is either they're persistent or not. Persistent means that they're going to stay on the minimap even if they're too far away from you. And so we dragged from our minimap the endgame minimap, and we called and we got the minimap component, and from the minimap component we called add persistent actors. So add persistent actors with the S at the end because we want to add multiple actors, and so it needs an array of actors, which is simply this one right here. So now we're going to play, and we should see all the boxes in our minimap. As you can see here, if I enable the mouse, here's one, here's another one, here's another one, and this one has an arrow which indicates that it's above. We need to take the stairs to reach it. I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit here, and I'm going to say something to, I'm going to change it to something like 40 by 40. And if we play now, it should be a little bit better. As you can see, the boxes are shown in the minimap. We have this one right here. We can reach it easily. Here it is. And this one, based on the height indicator, we can tell that it's above us, so we have to take the stairs to reach it. And same thing for all these three. All these four. They're, for example, this one right here. We can see that it's above us, so we have to take the stairs. And here it is. So the indicator disappeared because now we're at the same level. And here we have nothing. So there are two boxes above us, so we will need to take the stairs again, and there they are. And now if we are going to notice that for the other one, now it has an indicator that points down, which means that it's below. And same thing for this one. So if we try to reach that guy, see if we've made it. Oops, we couldn't. So we couldn't make it, but it's fine. And of course, if we make them non-persistent, let's just go ahead to the endgame minimap here, and we're going to delete this one, and instead we're going to make them just simple. So instead of persistent, we're going to do add actors. So simply add actors. So with the S, because we want to add multiple actors, and we're going to give it the array, and we don't want to follow the rotation. Texture is the same thing, just treasure. And for the size, 40 by 40 or something similar. 40 by 40, color this one, and we do want to show the height indicator, and then we want to call minimap start update. Now if we play, and for example we zoom in, we can't see the treasure boxes that are far away because they're not persistent, and so we'll have to get near a treasure box to actually see it. And here is one, and let's go ahead and look for the other ones. And here is one. This one is on top as the height indicator tells us, and same thing for this guy, same thing for this guy, and same thing for this guy. And if we take the stairs, this one will no longer have the indicator. Notice if we go down and then go up, there we go. And the same thing for this one. This one is above, so we'll have to take the stairs. And here is one, and there's the other one. So one last important thing is changing the settings of the height indicator. So before we add anything to the minimap, we want to change the height indicator setting. So how we can do that? It's pretty easy. I just take the minimap component here and do you want to drag from the minimap component and call adjust height indicator settings. So this one you want to call it before you add anything to the minimap. And let's just move this here. There you go. So the first thing we want to add is the arrow up. You can change the texture if you want. For now we're going to do arrow up, which is this one. So currently we're using this one right here, and for down we're using the other one right here. So this is so these are the two textures that we're using. You can of course here change to whatever you want. For the color, we're going to do make. For example, for the up arrow, we want to make it, for example, green. Or yeah, the green is not a problem. For down, we're going to select just the same thing. And for the color, we're going to select, for example, purple. For the color, I'm going to keep this color right here. For the size, we can so default is 16 by 16, but of course it depends on your texture. So I'm going to leave it 16 by 16. And for the acceptable height difference, this is kind of the difference between you and the box, for example. So this is pretty much just the difference in height between your location and the box location, for example. If it is less than 200, it's fine. If it's more than 200, then of course the height indicator will start showing you that the thing or the box is below or above. So we could increase this a little bit, for example 300. And now if we play, you're gonna notice that make sure you set this up first before adding anything. So here we change the settings. So here we initialize the settings, and then we added whatever we want to the minimap. Now if we go here, for example, you can see that the arrow now is green, but if we go upstairs, it's going to change to the other color. So, and this one, since it's below, we have the other color that we selected here, which is this one right here. So really quickly, again, for the up arrow, I'm going to select something like, I don't know, blue, dark blue, something like that. And I'm going to play. And if we get closer, you can see that it's now, you can see the now the new color is applied, of course. And of course, you can make the same thing for the other one. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And you can use the email address in the description, of course. And of course, if you're interested in this minimap, you can go to the Epic launcher and look for the dynamic UMG minimap, or just use the link in the description. I hope this video was useful, and see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.